guys are now EFC certified academy, teaching some EFC specific courses. Tell us
Yes,
about that. How's that going?
it's going well. It's going well. Your curriculum, I've been following for a long time and that's been great. But I think that the draw is still getting officers, on the mats and getting them in.
For
That's
sure.
still probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
But the EFC affiliation is definitely going to help. And, the certification behind you guys that is post certified, through the state of Illinois. And I think it makes a big, big difference. And I
Sure.
think officers are starting to take notice. It's kind of like you got to plant the seed with them a little, and then they kind of come around slowly. That's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is like you start changing curriculum and tactics, and then you get really good tactics that are happening on body cam. And then
Yes.
admin doesn't want to push those out. But as soon as like a bad one comes, they're all like
Oh,
a
yeah.
glass house. Here, show this, show this. But why aren't we showing the good tactics?
Yes.
When cops are doing good things, why don't we release these body cam footage to the public on good things? Like I've seen some.
Right.
I've seen body cam footage that's good,
Yeah.
lots of it. Now, a lot of our students are getting it cleared for us to put on the internet. Some of them just send it to me and be like, "Hey, it's not clear, but I just showed it in training where no one can see it except for the students."
Sure.
Because even if they don't want to clear it to the public, let your instructor show it in service. In service is the hardest guys to get buy-in from.
Right.
But if
That's
you
true.
say, "Hey, look what we're teaching," they're actually using in the street and it's being safer, more efficient, and effective. That's how you start to get buy-in.
Right. I agree. And even as like, like we all have big departments have, we have news affairs and media relation, they should be on the positive end of that too, going, hey, these are good videos we should put out that shows the importance of this training. Right.
Yeah, our officers are have changed their training curriculum. Our officers are training more. We're investing more in our officers to make it safer for the officers and the public when we're arresting them.
Yeah.
Those are selling points to community relations that, hey, if we only post out the ones that are maybe a justified shooting,
Right.
or we post something that we want to put in a glass house to like hold people accountable for, like an overuse of force. That's all the public's sitting to see is officer involved shootings and the bad things that we do.
Right.
But the overwhelming majority of the time, we cuff cooperative people.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's we cuff uncooperative people, but hands on. Why aren't we showing the good tactics, the good arrests that we're making instead of the poor ones? It just doesn't make sense. It's a backwards thought process of what we're putting out to the public.
Right. And I think they only put it out because like, oh, they feel they have to. And
Exactly.
there's no reason to show the good stuff. But when you're just showing the bad ones, that's all they think are the bad ones. True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what they see as social media. Now, on the other end of that, as far as like I've come to the conclusion that society only wants to see chaos,
Yeah. That's kind of true.
right?
It sells. It sells. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll post a video of like two or three guys completely being ineffective and not good at like arresting someone. And
Hmm.
there's punches and it looks awful and they can't get the guy and the guy gets away or whatever the case may be. That'll get 200,000 to
Yeah.
800,000 views. Then I'll post EFC trained guys doing high low takedown, control, arms behind the back, get him
The
cuffed, get him to
solution
the
to the
side.
problem. Right. Yeah.
Here's a solution,
Hmm.
but because it's boring, they don't want to see it.
Right.
So I I tell people in class all the time, train to be boring. If
Yeah.
you're boring on body cam because you're so effective it's boring, you'll never be a YouTube sensation. And in
Right.
our line of work, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's exactly where you want to be, where you can control in custody without an issue and nobody even knows about it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, though, the back part of that is now society never gets to see the overwhelming majority of uses of forces are justified and efficient.
Right.
They just aren't getting to see that.
Right.
So it just kind of clouts the thought process of what they look at us. Their view on us is distorted because they don't understand. Like they only see what we put out.
Right. Exactly. They don't see the full picture. So,
Yeah, and
exactly.
that's an officer involved shooting or something that went like chaotic.
Right. Exactly. And that's like the worst part. Right. Well, let's just get started. So, welcome to the Man of the Law podcast. And for those of you who don't know who I'm speaking with today, I'm speaking with Jay Wadsworth. He is a retired police officer of 22 plus years. And he was in SWAT for most of that, I think 14, 15 years as a SWAT
Yep.
operator.
14 years on the team in some capacity.
Yeah, a third degree black belt. You still a third degree black belt?
Yep. Just got my third degree last year.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And he is the co-founder and director of Effective Fitness Combatives, which, full disclosure, I am also part of the Effective Fitness Combatives team in a small role here in Chicago. We have a affiliated academy at Brazil 021 Chicago, and I'm also a EFC level one instructor. And I took Jay's course here in Chicago, which was fantastic. And we're going to get more into the details about effective fitness combatives and what it is, and some of the broader topics we're kind of looking at here is obviously, the system of defensive tactics for police officers and the issues. The other one would be, hands-on control versus pain compliance, which is a big one. And then just, how EFC is kind of changing the landscape. And I really think you guys are. You guys are kind of taking, doing a ton of stuff throughout the country and multiple police departments and really making a large impact on the law enforcement community for defensive tactics. And I think it's great to see it. I'm glad to be part of it. And so welcome to the show, Jay. Much appreciated.
Yeah, we all know the culture needs to change. We all know the content needs to change. It needs to be more systematic and it needs to be like principle and concept based. And we have to understand the integration into the environment. There are multiple good companies putting out good training, right? I think
Yeah.
EFC is just doing that at a level that the other ones aren't doing yet or aren't capable of, depending on like structure, manpower, instructors, the number of instructors, back end stuff. People don't realize all the hard work that goes into having a company that's putting on 72 courses, 72 host locations booked next year.
Yeah.
So host locations for next year for the open courses are booked.
Right. And I said retired police officer, but I mean retired in quotes. You're probably doing a ton more work retired than you ever did as a police officer. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And so we're just trying to put as much good content out in front of as many people as possible. And that's what has to happen, right? Like if I only teach 3 classes a year, that's fine. But then I'm not getting in front of as many people as I need to get to. Now, when you're putting out 72 courses, say for next year,
yeah,
you have to be careful with that because you can outrun your headlights or you can water down your program. And that's what you don't want to do. So you have to be able to have, right? You have to have the back end that's doing all the back end stuff that's not fun, that no one sees. Those guys don't get enough credit for. And then you have instructors. Like I'm super picky with my instructors. And you have to have instructors because I can't, obviously there's 52 weeks in a year. We don't teach over 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So now we're already down to 49. And I can't teach 72 courses over 49
you can't
weeks.
be everywhere in the country, right?
It can't be there. So I have to have guys that aren't going to water down the product. And that's
Right.
that's another thing is just getting high level guys in that are high level in some sort of grappling, whether it's brown or black belts in jiu-jitsu, collegiate level wrestlers that or high level MMA guys that have law enforcement experience. And then I can kind of show them systematically concepts and principles of what works for the street. And those guys all come in and they're crushing it. I have 3 full-time instructors besides myself now, Scott, Dylan, and Matt. Probably adding another one in mid 2026. And then I have like 30 to 35 adjuncts. Those guys are still cops, right?
Yeah.
They're still training at a high level. They're still doing the job currently. And or they're guys that are black belts that are retired and running gyms that were cops.
Right.
And I think the good part about like our team is they know like to work for us, they have to build relationships with people. And I think one of the things that we really do good is build relationships with not just our student base, but like our points of contact with the administration that we're working for, because I can't teach to what Jay can do. Right. Like we have to understand that we can't teach to what our instructors can do. That they're the 0.0001% of the police world, realistically. Right.
Yeah. And very high level. Yeah. It's a different ballgame for them. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So now look at the opposite end of the spectrum. You can't teach to the LCD. I tell the guys, we refuse to teach to the lowest common denominator. You teach to a competent level cop, someone that's competent level. If you teach to the lowest common denominator, that's the culture and that's the standard you're setting.
Right.
We can't do that. We have to teach to the competent level cop. Okay. Now that competent level cop might not be a collegiate level wrestler, right? He might not be able to bench 225 pounds. We have to realize that cops come in all makes, models,
Yeah.
sizes, skill levels, mental toughness. So more so, I think the trick is systematically finding a system and method of teaching that can be transferred, retained, and then those people can actually use it on the street. And I think we've done a really good job of that. The
Yeah.
amount of body cam footage I get from our students coming back is crazy. People
Right.
they've taught them themselves. I can't post all of it. I try to post as much of it as I can that gets cleared. And we urge civilians that are out there, push for your legislatures to have body cam videos be able to be released all the time.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
Because you want to live in a glass house, you want then show the good too, not just the bad.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
and I use those videos all the time in training. Hey, look, here's poor team tactics. I don't know who these guys are, what department they work with, but this was a viral video on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever. Here's 2, 3 guys not knowing what they're doing. They're fighting each other. Here's ESC trained guys and an ESC trained systematic conceptual principle based program. And look how much more efficient it is. Not
Yeah.
only is it efficient, sorry, it's effective and it's safer for the cops, but it's also safer for the guys we're arresting.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. I really think like systematically looking at how you're going to deliver a system and then what are the main principles I want to cover or have it run by. And then every position has a concept. So if you look at scissor sweep works because of details and technique, but the underlying way the scissor sweep works is the concept. It's easier to understand and retain a concept than it is a 10-step move.
Yes.
So what are the main concepts of each position? And then we can work into, from there, we can work into building the details and the techniques as we build those skills.
Right. And especially with your your EFC level 1 course that I teach, I could have students that are blue belts in jiu-jitsu or white belts in jiu-jitsu, or I could have that new student that comes in for their first training class ever, and I could still put them all in the same class and still work through any one of your 26-week curriculum in EFC level 1, and which is really good.
Yeah. And I think like we are very strict on positions that we like to use for control versus
Right.
positions we don't. And that all comes off of principles and concepts that are seen from my personal experience, guys I've worked with, guys on the team, and body cam video that we're breaking down and dissecting. Not all of the sport transfers to the environment of the street when it's opposed to possible weapons. It doesn't all transfer. Yes, the more we train jujitsu, the better we are at one as a person, the better we're going to be calm. We're going to understand problem solving. I think John Danaher the other day or a couple of weeks ago said on a thing like the number one thing jujitsu gives you is problem solving ability.
Yes.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Right. So it gives you that, but it also gives you skills that get you used to being uncomfortable. All those things are pros, but and we know that the more we train, the better we're going to be. When it comes to the aspect of the environment we fight in, we also have to understand that there's got to be a strict integration.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu is super important, but if we just do sport jiu-jitsu and we think that's going to save us on the street, it could get us into trouble as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I always say, like, I hate being right when it costs blood and lives. Like, I don't like being right when bloodshed and lives prove me right. I hate being right at that point.
Right. And I'm sure that happens a lot from time to time. And you see something and you go, I know the answer, to this problem. And you see it first.
Yeah. And we have to let time pass and then put out the solution and realize how that works. Right. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of times where just because we're high level MMA wrestlers or jiu-jitsu brown, black belt, whatever, we can't let those guys off the hook if they don't understand the progression. you can be a black belt and still get killed.
Yes.
We have tier 1 guys, SEALs, JSOC guys that go overseas and still get killed, right?
Sure.
Opportunity, vulnerability. They're probably way more skilled than the person that shot them or killed them. But unfortunately, opportunity, vulnerability is just part of violence in life.
Right.
How that translates to what we teach is understanding I can have a black belt, and I've seen a black belt and just slick in the beginning of the curriculum, just wiping the mat and doing resistance drills and just doing whatever they want to the untrained person.
Sure.
Then later on in the course, we put gun belts on and we can take weapons, present weapons, and that black belt is in a super positive position and still gets stabbed, shot, or his own weapon taken. And the reason is they get too overconfident in their ability to control someone in the sport slick environment.
Right.
Now, most of that comes from us having underhook, head control, and our head all on one side of a body. That's the concept of where I see it fails. Side control, for instance. I get a far side underhook, head control. Where's my head? Same side as my hands.
Right.
I control one of their arms and their head. What's the other arm doing?
Right.
90% of the time in most side controls, you don't know what that.
You don't know what that far arm is doing, right?
Yeah. And it's right by either a taser or a handgun.
Right by your duty belt, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Not even going into if they have a weapon on, which most of the time we don't know. That's unknown unless the person's completely naked.
Right.
Same thing with the mount. We mount someone. We get a good head and arm. To control someone in the mount, what do we have to do with our chest?
Right. We got to connect it. Yeah. Right.
We got to connect it. So now our head, our hands are on the same side of the body usually, or up high, away from what? Unless we have double underhooks, which is very hard to get in the mount. Double underhooks and walk both arms up. Yeah. Even in jiu-jitsu, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're in the police world and we have one arm and head control and our chest is down. What do we not see?
Yeah. The other arm, right?
What do we not control?
Yeah. Our duty belt, we got no access. Yeah.
And they have access to our belt. They have access to their areas. So it's like when it's opposed, it can be really bad. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, Michigan State Police put out a video. The kids, I believe it's 6 weeks off of FTO, and he's a blue belt. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. This will come into play in a minute. His FTO is I believe a purple belt. He also has been through level 1 and level 2 with EFC.
Oh, wow.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
He's tough. So if you watch the video, jiu-jitsu most likely saved his life.
Yeah.
Along with being around his FTO, who, talking about like, hey, manipulating and fighting for weapons, you got to control a handgun. You got to control the slide of the gun when it's out versus the wrist. Those types of details that we don't see taught very often, and it's getting better, thank goodness. But on a knife, I have to control the weapon bearing arm. On a gun, if it's out, I got to control the gun itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So he does control the gun well. Problem is as he goes to take the guy down, he recognizes the 45 flare. Right. He recognizes that.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff's going to come back a really good job on his FTO, and a good job on the kid training and staying calm. He's 6 weeks out of the academy.
Right. And that's a big thing 6 weeks out. Right. Yeah. And now you're into it. Right.
And by himself on the takedown, the gun falls out. The guy's revolver falls out onto the ground, to the street, and they're fighting. Well, as the suspect grabs a hold of the gun, he goes to like a seatbelt version to control the gun.
Yes.
So now he has the back, but he has that seatbelt version. And again, I talk about seatbelt not being great for law enforcement. One, you can get high. Two, we don't control the inside position on the opposite side arm. Both of those come into play on this one. So, when it comes over, he ends up getting high and he's controlling the gun. He's doing a phenomenal job. He's staying calm. He's controlling the gun. He's got back position, but he's over the shoulder. Being over the shoulder and getting extended now puts him on the bottom. He gets high and gets reversed. And now the suspect's on top and he's on the bottom. Still controlling the gun. Still staying calm. Most cops that don't train probably get killed in this incident. He stays calm, probably due to his jiu-jitsu, right? Holds the gun. and then uses like a version of a flower scissor sweep to sweep him. Now, when he
Yeah.
sweeps him over, you'll see that's when the guy gets rounds off, because as he sweeps him over, the gun comes across his body.
Right.
Okay, and gets 2 to the vest and 1 to the shoulder. Shot 3 times. The kid comes up in the mount and he's pinning the guy's gun still.
Yeah. Still fighting. Right.
Still fighting and still calm.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, we talk all the time in the last block we do about earning your draw. When you're entangled with something, you got to earn your draw.
Right.
Because if the bad guy is committed, he's going to go for it. So he goes to go for his gun, and what's the bad guy do?
Go for it. Right.
Goes for his gun. So now they're fighting over his gun, and the bad guy's trying to not let him get the gun out or take his gun. So
that's crazy.
He recognizes this. He's shot 3 times.
Yeah.
He's pinning a gun that's going to shoot him again if he lets go of it.
And he's fighting for his gun.
And he's fighting for his gun, and has the calmness and whereabouts to be like, I got to staple the arm I don't control. Ends up stapling that arm.
Yeah.
And then presenting and going contact shot to the head as he's disengaging 2 more rounds to the chest. Wow. And winning and surviving a deadly encounter for probably most cops, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But now as we break that
saved
down,
his life, absolutely, yeah.
For sure. So training saves his life. And breaking that down, though, we have to understand that, one, he's in this position because the bad guy is just a piece of crap, right? Yeah. And is going for a gun and trying to kill the cop. 2, some sport jiu-jitsu positions probably got him high. If he goes underneath and controls, he probably doesn't get high. We don't know. We weren't there. But going forward, winning inside position over seatbelting from the back is a concept that we can stress, and it's easy for people to remember. Right. Inside position. I'm winning inside the arms. Inside the arms. I can still get to guns and hands from inside. Right. On the rare occasion I can't, then nothing's 100%. You know? Fast forward, so that happened a few months ago. He's back to work. And
that's crazy.
The video gets released the first week in November.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that week we had 2 cops killed, North Carolina and Florida. Right. Yes. So, in one of those incidents, the cop, he's from a cop family. The kid's a savage. Everybody likes him. He's super fit. He's a stud. All those things. The suspect again goes for it starts with the conflict, good takedown, dominant back position, builds up a base and turns, and then we mount. So then when cop mounts the suspect, really good head and arm control. Unfortunately, he has a free arm, which gathers the officer's gun, and he ends up shooting the officer, and the officer passes.
Yeah.
And then the coward shoots himself after. And again, this is a super competent, trained person.
Sure.
Right? So this is why I say we need to make sure that we understand the application of our training.
Right.
I don't care how trained you are. Understand the application of where it's at. Right? And of course, the officer didn't do anything wrong in these situations.
No.
The suspect did. The suspect is the dirtbag that did. Okay. But moving forward, so that this doesn't happen more often and to more cops, we need to push the solutions of where things started to fail, or what part of the integration of the training failed into the environment that we're in.
Right. And you're looking at the failures, not as a bad thing, but as how can we learn from this, and how can we save other officers and do better, right?
Yeah. Going forward, and we know what the answer is. That's what I said in the beginning. I hate being right when it's bloodshed in lives of law enforcement officers. Yeah. I hate it. It gives me an awful feeling inside. But what we do know is we know what the solution is to push for training now, right?
Sure.
To start getting that concept of win inside position, stop mounting, okay? And stop going seatbelt in jiu-jitsu. Even if you can choke the guy, that's the other debate. Hey, I can choke the guy if I have a seatbelt and deadly physical force. How long does it take for me to choke you before you pass out?
Yeah, it could be, 30 seconds. It could be a minute. Could be, who knows? Yeah,
Could be
exactly.
4 seconds, could be 8
Right.
seconds, could be 12 seconds, could be more than that.
Right.
How long does it take you to present a weapon?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that in a blink. Right.
Less than a second, two
Right.
seconds. Um, when I was in Omaha with Dan Miller, one of my adjunct instructors, he's a black belt, he's 230, 225, high level guy. And I said, listen, we're gonna do this like pressure testing. And it was just in the mat room with a rubber gun, so very low level pressure testing, but we were going all out. Okay.
Oh, I did see that. He had your back and tried to choke you before you could take the weapon out. Yes, yes.
From
So
two
go ahead.
positions. Me
Right.
sitting with
Hmm.
him on my back with the seatbelt already, and then me prone with him with a choke locked in,
Hmm.
like flattened out, and I
Right.
still got my gun out and on him before I
Yeah.
would have had to tap.
Right.
Okay. Then we did both those positions with him having double underhooks and just wrist control. I couldn't even get to my weapon.
No, yeah, because you couldn't access the inside and he was controlling it, right? And that it's
Right.
as simple as that, right?
That is the intricate details of the difference between the mat, the cage, and the street.
Right.
Right.
So can you talk about let's talk about the five pillars a little bit because we're kind of in that zone here.
Yep.
So let's describe kind of for people that don't know EFC and the training as much. Let's talk about kind of the five pillars and how that sets up the rest of the curriculum in EFC.
Yeah. So we're rooted in five main principles, right? And the reason principles are so important is if you look at billing clearing, which is CQB is probably the most controversial topic in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay. And in military.
Yeah.
There's 5 or 6 probably good ways to clear a room, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
My outlook is what are the resources? What are the team's capabilities? And are they hitting their points of domination? So their points of domination are going to be, okay, the principles that we look at.
Right.
You could cross button hook. You could button hook cross. You could threshold eval, go to the known, go to the unknown. As long as you're hitting your points of domination, I don't care what you're doing.
Right.
And we're on the same page. So principles for us in the combatives is first and foremost, the first one is, and they can go in any order, right? Kind of like your use of force. When you used to have, we talked more about like continuums versus case law. Now it's more case law based, but
Right.
continuums, you could come in and out, go up and down in any order.
Yeah.
Our principles are on that same thought process. The first one is awareness.
Right.
You have to be aware of everything. Where am I at? Where am I parking? Who are my partners? How many people are there? But even more than that is awareness of positions, awareness of human behaviors. People do the same things over and over again. You watch body cams, the suspects are doing the same things over and over again. So if we know, hey, in a prone position, the suspect does these 6 things, and he doesn't do anything but these 6. We've brought awareness to what we need to work on to counter or to defend that. So now we're being more proactive than we are reactive to their movements.
Right.
So awareness is huge across the board. 2, mobility. Mobility and movement is life in police work. I have to be able to transition, whether that's from position to position, that's from engaging to disengaging, which leads us into the next one. Mm-hmm. We have to be able to be mobile. When we can't be mobile, then we're limited. Yes. Limitation in our mobility and police work is what's going to be harmful to us.
Right. And that's what you talked about previous in a lot of these videos was the lack of mobility, right?
Yes. Then we have 3, okay? Distance management, double-edged sword. Engage or disengage. Mm-hmm. Could depend on skill, personal preference. Sometimes the situation and the space dictates. What I mean by that is the situation might dictate me to engage versus disengage. The priority of life could dictate if I engage or disengage.
Right.
And then my space can dictate whether I engage or disengage. And if any of those 3 are dictating which one I have to do, I have the option to do either as personal preference or my skill set dictates.
Right.
So double-edged sword there. I can engage or disengage, but we have to allow our officers to do both. And to do those things, I have to be able to be mobile.
Right.
Okay. So if I can't get mobile, I can't engage, I can't transition in the engagement, or I can't disengage.
Right.
Then four, pretty simple, angles. Angles win fights. I don't care what martial art, what combative sport you do, angles always win. I don't care if you're a gunfighter,
Yeah.
right? If you had the choice of having the high angle on someone in a gunfight, you would take it.
Hmm.
Why? Because angles win.
Right.
So understanding what an angle is, and then even if I don't know what the move is or I don't know how to get there, I know where I need to go.
Right.
Okay. For instance, we define angles as my hips face them, their hips facing me, whether I'm vertical or horizontal, and or I beat the elbow. If I get behind his elbow,
Right.
I have an angle. So those are two pretty easy concepts to remember in order to win a principle.
Right.
Okay?
And that's usually how I teach students too, just how you taught me, where it's like my hips are facing them
Yeah.
and you need to get behind the elbow. I say that a lot too, because it's
It,
very
it,
easy for people to conceptualize. They're like, oh, my hips need to face this way, or I need to get behind the elbow. They can visualize that real quick, right?
Now, simple skills to go with it are showing them how to arm drag, how to go to a 2-on-1,
Right.
how to go to framing, maybe to a duck under or a
Mhm.
slide by, because all those things put us at an angle that allow us to get behind the elbow if we want to win the angle, right?
Right.
So now their skills transition into what your concepts and then eventually your principles are. Then the last one is just improvise. My definition of improvise is just be a problem solver,
Yeah.
right? We have to improvise because one move doesn't always work. Everything fails. And I make sure to stress that to my students that everything fails for
Right.
somebody against somebody.
And as part of your curriculum, you've talked about that before. You're trying to build not technique
Yeah.
based, but you're trying to build officers that problem solve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while they're learning, while they know, once they learn the concepts and they're starting to problem solve, they have to continuously build their skills. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why the first hands-on block we run is a skills block. We just do skills. They're
Hmm.
not tactics. These are just skills. Why? You could train those skills 30 minutes, 60 minutes, once, twice a week, and you'll be 52, to 104 times better than you are next year than you are this year.
Right.
And you don't have to go to a gym to do those skills.
Right.
Hey, get a partner, arm dragging, framing, all those types of things are easy to do. Underhooks, overhooks,
Hmm.
inside head position, shrimping, just working, getting up,
Right.
framing versus
Right.
posting.
Yeah.
All those skills
Combat base, get up. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. All of it.
So understanding that. So, it makes me happy when I see like brilliant minds such as John Donaher going on a podcast and saying the
Hmm.
number one thing jujitsu gives you is problem solving because principle 5 is improvising.
Right.
There's too many variables in police work to say one move works every time.
That's true. Yeah.
What position am I in? Am I on the right side of the guy, left side of the guy? Is the guy standing? Is he on the ground? What weapon is he reaching for? Where is the weapon? What hand is he reaching for compared to where I'm at? What is my space? The variables are endless.
Right.
And if the variables are endless, you have to attack it with understanding the principles and the concepts and then adding whatever skills or tactic you need to do at that point. And
Right.
that's kind of our teaching methodology. It's a triangle, right?
Hmm.
Build skills, teach principles, okay, and then add the tactic.
Right.
So it's like that triangle. And that's why I think it's being so successful is because the way we're transferring the knowledge, it's kind of our teaching methodology, and then adding the principles / concepts, and then they get to add the tactics.
Right. Yeah, and that changes the ball game too. And that kind of leads me to my next question because, we talk about the sport jujitsu and it's, us grappling, without weapons. And a big part of, EFC is close range, gunfighting, weapon retention, and ground fighting with weapons in play. Not only, could the subject have a weapon, but our weapon is in play also. And how do you kind of cover that, through the curriculum?
Yeah, so everything we have to do is we just have to constantly know that we're bringing multiple weapons to every close encounter we do. Even if the guy doesn't have one, he's going to have access to a taser, a gun,
Mm,
possibly pepper spray, possibly baton, possibly an edge weapon that we bring there.
Yes.
Okay. So I always talk about like, hey, when we make contact with a guy, we usually want to control at least one arm. Okay. Or even sometimes the torso, like in a body lock.
Right.
So whatever arm we don't control or arms we aren't controlling, we have to be able to see them or be aware of them. In the front, that's pretty easy. I can see their hands and what they're doing. If I start to see an elbow peek out, I should know I need to make connection to it or disengage, right? I got to give it attention. But from the back, we get to, and we say we want to win angles. Realistically, the best takedowns for police officers are from the back. We're the safest there, but then we lose track of being able to see the hands. When we can't see the hands, we have to see the elbow. Because if I'm trying to fight and I'm peeling arms, okay, and I'm trying to punch or I don't make this obvious motion.
Right.
This flare, this obvious, it's like a 45-degree angle shooting out from my body, is a flare. Okay, when you flare, they're presenting something.
Right. Something's,
now,
they're grabbing for something, right?
Yeah, it might not be a weapon. It could be a cell phone, could be dope, whatever the case might be.
Right.
It could be candy. But I have to now give that attention.
Right.
So vertical tilt, for instance, I get behind them and I bring the arm. So I now have this arm across their back or across their waist, and I'm behind it. I got control. Common in the sport, and I call it like a vertical tilt position, but it's just you got a cross arm control, is to sag to the side of the arm that you have because they got no base over there. Most times,
yeah. So your head is over here. Your head's
over here. Well, it's not so far in head where you can see the opposite hand.
Right.
So even during skills, they'll be like, hey, when we're doing vertical tilts, your head should be facing the arm you don't control.
Right. Face that way instead. Yeah.
So it's just those tiny, intricate details and concepts that you have to understand and teach. Because if I miss that, I could be looking down the barrel of the gun before I know the gun's coming out.
Yeah.
The guy could have a knife in his hand stabbing me before I know he even has it.
Right. Because you're going to miss the whole thing. Right. Yeah.
It changes from, let's say MMA. Because I really feel like MMA grappling is better for police work than this state jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Yeah.
Or just straight wrestling. I think the mixed martial arts form of grappling is better because we want to be on top. Very rarely do you know an MMA fighter says, I'd rather be on bottom. Maybe Mackenzie Dern, but if you gave her a choice to be on top, she'd probably pick top two, right?
Yeah, true.
In the street, we don't want to be
your
on
goal
the
is to be in a dominant position. Yes. And that's what you want in law enforcement too. You want dominance, right?
Yeah, dominant position. And we can talk about what dominant positions are good and bad and why in a minute. But again, just understanding in MMA, there's a ref and then there's two people fighting. There's two combatants that are in shorts that have no weapons. We already know this.
Yeah.
It's a sterile environment.
Yeah.
Now, MMA gives us our best gauge to what works because they're full out trying to knock each other out, punch, elbow, kick, submit, wrestle. They're doing everything that you would do in the street minus with weapons, right? Okay, maybe minus an eye poke or grabbing a guy's groin.
Right.
We see people get poked in the eye and their groin grab and they continue to fight and go either way. So that comes down to like pain compliance and mindset.
Yeah.
So we can't count on those things working all the time, right?
That's true.
So I think that's the big thing we need to stress is when we're putting out content is that content has to go from being sport related, take the fundamentals that work and then integrate it into the environment that you're working with, which is always opposed by weapons.
Right.
Always.
Yes. Yeah. And that has to be the main kind of, variable in there. Right. That changes.
And then it's not 1993 anymore. So they're not doing these fights with no weight classes.
Right.
In MMA. They're not wrestling with no weight classes. Now, jiu-jitsu does do absolute.
Yeah, we do absolute if you medal or something. Or
but
you want to do it.
Very rarely, at the highest levels even, do you see a lightweight even placing or medaling in the absolute. Once in a while.
Size and strength matter, right?
Physics is real.
Yeah.
Physics is real when skills in the same ballpark, right?
Yes.
So again, cops come in all shapes and sizes. So we can't do things that work based on weight classes. Right. That's another thing we got to think about. What positions are easily reversed when there's a size difference?
Right.
Right. That brings me back to mount again.
Yeah.
Side control. If you got a 225-pound guy and a 160-pound dude that's skinny, not super strong, and that guy just grabs a hold of him and bucks, or bridges or oompas, what happens?
Yeah, you're under them, right?
Now you're under them.
Yeah.
So
Good
how do
call.
we avoid putting our cops in a position that they get reversed easily from?
Right.
Okay. Mount and side control can get reversed easily when size is different because
Right.
physics is real. Look at knee on top, look at leg drag, stomach up, supine, whatever you want to call it, or lateral
Right.
control is very different, right?
Yeah.
Those positions don't get reversed. What happened? They have to escape first, which allows us then to transition or disengage if we need to.
Right.
Same with stomach down or prone control. I don't like high mount and seatbelt. I only go high mount if I have an arm behind their back and I can put a wedge in because now I have the leverage to not get high.
Right.
Until then, it should be primarily low mount inside control.
Right.
Secondary option is knee on top, back of the triceps, or tricep head control.
Right.
So understanding positions of dominance. Okay, now side control. Okay, the exception is, what if I staple the near side arm? Then could I go side control? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I could, because now he can't control me with that arm and I have it pinned.
Right.
So you could go side control. The exception is going to be stapling the near side arm or arm wrapping it, winning the elbow like we do from knee on top, driving that arm across and going to some sort of arm wrap. You could do that as a version of side control as well.
Right.
So I'm not 100% against side control if you staple the arm or win the near side elbow across the arm and go turn arm wrap or crossover arm, whatever you want to call it, straight jacket, whatever. But those things have to be in place for that position to not be detrimental if something fails.
Right.
Mount, really the only good mount position you can have is if you have double arms up.
Right.
And we know how difficult that's going to be.
Exactly.
So if we're teaching to the competent level person, why are we even showing that position?
Right.
It's easy for them just to grab a hold of us, to reverse the position, for us not be able to disengage.
Yep.
So talking about being able to get mobile, engaging and disengaging, the reason and concept behind how I explain what positions I teach now for control is the concept of space. If I want to control the guy, I want to take space away. If I want to disengage, I need to create space. Let's talk about the controlling part. So I need to find positions that I can control them. So mount and side control actually don't violate taking space away. They're actually really good positions to take space away. The problem is we lose track of an arm if we don't staple it or cross the arm over.
Right.
Okay. Then it allows the suspect to reconnect to us. So now if he reconnects to us, now we can't disengage or transition very easily.
Right.
So I need to find positions to teach where I can have and maintain control and connection, that I can take space away, that minimize the suspect's ability to reconnect to me.
Right.
Because if he can't reconnect to me, he really can't get to my weapons.
Right.
This could be vertical, this could be horizontal, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, the concept applies on a wall, standing, ground.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, all the same. Right.
I put a video up a couple of weeks ago about delivering knee strikes from the clinch.
Yes.
I love the clinch. I love hitting knees from the clinch. But if I'm controlling just the head of the suspect and I'm within the distance to be able to knee that dude in the sternum or the face, am I controlling his arms?
Yeah, his arms could still reach your duty belt. Right.
Yeah, or his own belt, right? Or
his own weapons,
or whatever.
Right. Absolutely.
And now I'm far away from them. So I'm up here. Now we all know underhooks win when we're in inside position. And we don't always want to be behind the elbow. There's times where we want to be in the inside position.
Sure.
But when we're in the inside position, then we need to win underhooks, okay, bicep or wrist ties, and inside head positions. All of those positions give us connection, limit his ability to connect to me, and minimize his ability to grab my weapons or get to his own weapons.
Right.
Pretty easy concept to think about. Win the inside position, okay? Underhooks, bicep tie, wrist tie, inside head position. Why? Because it minimizes his ability to reconnect to me and or get to a weapon or get to my weapon.
Right. And then
So
let's talk about striking a little bit because
yeah,
you do I'm an EFC level 1 instructor. There's a block on striking in there, and
yep,
we talk about front kicks and teeps. We talk about
sure.
the basic 1-2 punches, and you were relating to mixed martial arts before, and most mixed martial artists that I've trained with some, just because they've let me train with them. I'm not a mixed martial artist, but I have some fun with some people at our gym that do train, professionally, and they use strikes to engage and clinch and take down. And that's the majority of their strikes open up other things. So could you talk about kind of how you incorporated the striking into EFC?
Yeah, we have to understand that striking is a huge part of a fight. Okay. We
Right,
need to know how to defend strikes, but we also have to understand how to utilize strikes to benefit. We can't just be grapplers. We can't just be
right.
strikers.
And you can't
That's why
just
I said,
strike to strike with nothing else behind it. Your strikes need to accomplish something, right?
and that's why I said mixed martial arts is probably the best way to take the fundamentals of what works in that environment to integrate into the weapons environment as
Right.
well, is
Hmm.
because they're using strikes usually to set up the takedowns,
Right.
right? Now, could I use strikes to disengage? Yes, and create space, of course.
Yes.
Can I use strikes as a distraction? Yes. Could I use the strikes to incapacitate the guy? Of course. But the problem with incapacitating the guy is most people don't get knocked out with one punch.
No.
I mean, if you look at significant strikes throughout an MMA round, sometimes they're in the hundreds.
Yeah.
So when you strike someone, if you don't incapacitate them, all striking is pain compliance and distraction.
Right.
Now that can play a role if the
Right.
distraction works, but what are we distracting them to? Are we
Right.
distracting them to another strike? If we're not incapacitating them, it just comes down to pain compliance again. It's
Right.
just like your pressure points. I punched you in the face 8 times. Okay, do something else.
Yeah. It's time to move on. Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly.
So I like using striking in law enforcement to engage the person or create distance to create space.
Right.
So I like to use 1-2s to win underhooks.
Right.
Okay. 1-2 into an underhook. 1-2, 1-2 into an underhook. 1-2 into underhook bicep tie into some sort of ability to be able to deliver a knee strike.
Right.
Then I'm using that to get a control position or a takedown position. Right.
Right.
So understanding where we're using it from, I think too, like open hand palm striking is probably better than straight fist punching.
Sure. For most somebody that's not trained. Right. Yeah. Right. Because you can
Standing
break your
up,
hand and everything else. So punching, yeah, with your palm is better. Yeah.
yeah, the most underutilized or trained kick is probably the push kick or the teep kick. I've used it numerous times, double-digit times in my career in a violent encounter to create
Yeah.
space
That's
or to
fantastic for
distract him, to
creating
bend him
space and
over.
keeping distance. Absolutely.
I had to manipulate a long gun sometimes, so I need
Right.
to manipulate a long gun to go hands on. I had to put a whole handgun away to go hands on. So I use that teep kick to create space. I think that's a very underutilized tool and a very good tool for law enforcement as a
Yeah.
strike. When we're on the ground, again, punching. What are we hitting when we're punching most of the time? Skulls. They're
Yeah.
hard.
Right.
We're bouncing off, punching the ground.
Yeah.
Most cops' hands aren't conditioned to training striking on a heavy bag on a weekly basis.
Right.
Okay. So your hands as a cop, the most competent level cop, doesn't have conditioned hands for striking.
Right.
Okay. Now, what do the pros do when they spar, when they punch bags? They wrap their hands.
Yeah. They wrap and they have gloves. Yeah.
Then they put
Absolutely. Yeah.
padded gloves on their
Yeah.
hands, somewhere from 2 to 16 ounces.
Yeah. They protect themselves. Yeah.
So it's easy to break a hand. What's the most common injury in boxing?
Yeah. Probably a broken hand. Right.
A hand fracture or an orbital or nose fracture, probably between
Yeah.
those top three. Okay.
Hmm.
So now I know that most strikes don't incapacitate people. So I punch someone really hard, and there's a good possibility I break my hand, I slide off, I hit the ground, break my hand. And now that fight gets to a position where I got to reach and try to get my own gun out, and I got a broken hand.
Right.
Can I mentally fight through there and do it? Possibly. How bad is it broken? Can I
Right.
squeeze? Those type of things. So now on the ground, what strike should we be talking about when we're taking someone into custody? Not punching with our hand.
Right.
Should be open palm strike.
Hmm.
Should be a forearm. Okay. Hammer fist. we're using the meaty part and stronger part of the bone,
Right.
okay, rather than punching with our knuckles.
Right.
So yeah, there's an art of and concept of what type of strikes do we want to utilize when we're controlling people on ground, and we're utilizing these strikes to get a distraction, a behavior change, or to help set up some sort of control.
Right.
And again, these are things I don't think are stressed enough, or that concept isn't pushed out of why are we teaching the reason of the form of striking we're teaching.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people have that misconception too of like, well, EFC is just all jujitsu and it's just control holds and stuff like that. And that's one aspect of it, but you kind of really encompass like the best aspects of like wrestling, mixed martial arts, grappling. It's a full combative system that, can work in a weapons environment, and you really put it all together. And that's why I really like it too. Yeah. So
That's why
it's definitely all there.
that's why it's not called arrest and control or defensive tactics.
Right.
It's called a combative program because it's all encompassing. That's why I'll get a question all the time like, hey, what's the difference between EFC and GST? Listen,
Yeah.
they're not they're completely different programs. The comparability is they both have a ton of jujitsu fundamentals in them and control
Right.
fundamentals in them.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying one is better than the other. Right? What I'm saying is people want to know the difference, and they're just two completely different programs.
Right.
Right? Like if you took their program, you're going to get benefit out of that program. If you take our program,
Sure.
you're going to benefit out of our program. They're two completely different programs.
Yes.
Ours is just based on an all-encompassing combatives program, right?
Right.
So like, why
And
did I
it's
do it?
run by police officers,
Sure.
put together by police officers, and, taught, and all the teachers are law enforcement officers. So I think that makes a difference too. Yeah.
And we have to keep our minds open-minded, and we can learn from
Yeah.
anybody, right? And I,
I've learned a ton of stuff from great jujitsu people in the industry because
of course,
they're
of
very
course.
good at what they do. Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
so I think we just
We all
have to make sure we're all staying open-minded on that. And then
Yeah.
relevancy is an ego thing sometimes.
Right.
But it's also because the culture of policing has allowed people to be relevant that probably shouldn't be sometimes.
Yes.
And like we've all had those instructors that are, and this could be a 28-year-old instructor. I'm just going to use an age. I'm not hating on all older people. Like my buddy Chad Lyman's 57 and he's still sparring and doing
Yeah.
jujitsu and stuff. They're like, it could be a 28-year-old that doesn't know how to train. But like a common thing that we've seen is these range instructors, DT instructors that just aren't capable. They got a cert 20 years ago and they're still teaching. And they're
Right.
teaching stuff they learned 20 years ago. Some of it could be fundamentally strong, and some of it's probably past, and we have to modernize that.
Yeah.
And modernizing fundamentals isn't necessarily what we're doing. Modernizing how we integrate it to what the trends of policing are, the new tools,
Right.
those types of things are what we have to think about. So the reason EFC has a 2-year certification is continuing education.
Yeah.
I want the instructors to continually coming back to continually build. That's forcing them to continually train. Now, if they only train every 2 years and they only teach every 2 years, are they going to be getting better? Not as good if they're training on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
But when they leave our 40-hour course, are they going to be better technicians necessarily? Maybe a little, but not overwhelmingly.
No.
Are they going to be better problem solvers?
Right.
Yeah, they can be better problem solvers immediately. They're going to start to be aware of more things. We're opening their mind to things. We're teaching them concepts that they can remember, but we're also giving them a back end of all the course material. Okay.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we're giving them the video library instructional to now be able to train on their own when they leave over and over again. And in 40 hours a week, a lot of people are drinking through a water hose, GT, right? So when they leave, oh, I forget how I wanted to work on this, but I forgot how I did it. Oh, hang on. Here's the app.
That's exactly what I did. I took the 40-hour course. It was great. I learned a ton, but the retention level, it was a very busy week. We did a ton. Fantastic week. But really when kind of like I started doing it, I went back to the curriculum and said, oh, I'm going to teach this on Friday night. I'm going to work on this. We're going to review it. Oh, look at these little details in here. And all that stuff I kind of picked up watching the videos after the fact, and then, breaking it down and doing it kind of, slower in class. So, the video library is fantastic. Yeah.
A law enforcement combatives program is almost like its own martial art. like a
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, like a sambo, like a wrestling, striking, Muay Thai, karate, taekwondo. They all have different rule sets and different applications, right?
Right.
Law enforcement steals from Muay Thai, striking
Everything.
and boxing,
Yeah.
steals from wrestling, steals from jiu-jitsu, because they all have really good fundamentals that and then mixed martial arts obviously encompasses a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so we take the fundamentals from those skill sets, and now we have to integrate them into its own martial art. Basically, that's
Right.
why it's its own systematic application.
Right.
And that's why I think like we are as lead instructors, as company owners, the foreheads of guys that are in the spotlight of training.
Mhm.
Training is changing.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody, but we are getting better. And I say that it's still at the lowest percentage. We're
Yes.
still a very small
Yeah.
percentage of people that are changing and modernizing like that.
That's
Right.
true. Mhm.
I can think of like 5, 6 good companies off the top of my head. Right. But you go into these courses and people may only know one or two of them.
Right.
Right. When I make business calls, I get host leads, contact leads, those types of things. I bet you like the amount of people that I talked to that didn't know who we were before their training division or officer sent us up to them is
Right.
crazy. That just shows you how out of touch, unfortunately,
Yeah.
sometimes administrations are.
Why do you think that is? Like, why are agencies so behind in modernizing, and why can't they, just see the solution to this problem is kind of out there and they're just not seeing it. I don't get it. I don't get the disconnect.
Um, I think they forget where they come from.
Yeah.
I think they forget the job that they have to do, the dangers of it, what we do the most,
And the
right?
importance of continued training.
The importance of continued training. We all know the answer of continuous training. You want true police reform? Force continuous training, and not just
Yeah.
jujitsu, not just DT,
No,
range training,
firearms, range
reality-based
training,
training,
room
CQB, vehicle
entry.
stops.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
That's just all got to be
Yeah.
continuous, not like once a year continuous.
No.
It needs to be more so. Now, anything is better than nothing,
Right.
but we got to start somewhere and start moving them. And I think it can be done. There's the administration. My buddy, he's actually an instructor for me for DCGS. His name's
Mm.
Aaron Zimmerman. He's a JT black belt. He trains at JT's HQ in Westchester.
Yeah.
He's the chief. I think
Yeah.
the city manager is like a blue belt, and
That's awesome.
they're making jujitsu training mandatory for their department.
That's
Like
great.
you can do it. We know Grand Prairie,
Yeah.
the chief over there. He just retired, but he did a 5-year study of post once I put jujitsu program in versus pre. And
Right.
the statistics are there. We know what that is.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
that. But we need more admin like those guys.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we see the admin that take the test. They're politically correct. Well, sure, we got to be politically correct. We got to do things right. We can't
Right.
be like barbaric. We can't be those.
Mhm.
The issue is, though, is if we're not and we're so far to the other side, we're actually doing an injustice to the
Yes.
officers and the suspects we're dealing with because our guys
Right.
aren't qualified or capable of physical altercation, which is when we see bad videos, it's because of a physical altercation went bad of some sort.
Right. Yeah. And you
Right?
used no force or little force that was ineffective and it turned into something terrible. Right.
Yeah. Or it's like, hey, it's too dangerous, too many people get hurt. Well, in the beginning, people might get hurt. One, have it set up right and do it safely. Then
Right.
you'll have less people get hurt.
Yeah.
Two, if their mindset is I want to get hurt because this is BS and we're changing how we're doing things, they're going to get hurt, whether they're stepping out of a
Right.
door or they're falling down.
Exactly.
Right. Two, their bodies aren't conditioned to fight.
No.
Their bodies aren't conditioned for that physical event.
Right.
So now the consistent training is going to make their body going to make their body ready to fight.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to be able to control themselves. If you don't know how to fight, you don't know how to control your body.
Right.
Like you watch why people are so awkward and come into jujitsu or wrestling and they're just like frenzying all over the place because they don't know how to control their body.
Right. Exactly.
They just don't know how to. So now you're expecting someone that doesn't know how to control their own body
Right.
to actually control an actively resistant or actively combative suspect.
Right. In a possibly life or death situation with weapons involved. Right. Good
That's just
luck.
dangerous to everybody. The
Yeah.
cop, the suspect, and any innocent civilians involved in the situation.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like we we need better admin. We
Mhm.
know that. That's what we need. We need admin that understand training is the foundation, okay, of police reform.
Yeah.
Fitness is the foundation of training.
Right. And
We
this
need
standard
better
needs to be
standards.
brought up. Yeah.
And we're
Absolutely.
lowering standards to get people through the door.
Right.
So now we're lowering standards.
Right.
That's not going to be solved. That's just going to make things harder and worse for us.
Yeah.
I think as more training culture changes, you know, you have guys like out east, like the Rob McGows and like all of the EFC instructors that are black
Hmm.
belts running academies, the Rick Rogers, the Mike Barleys, the Aaron Zimmerman, who's a chief,
Right.
those types of things. You go out to Vegas and you got Chad Lyman and Jerry in Vegas, and in Texas, you got a whole bunch of guys.
Sure.
Right, I could name a ton of people, but like as that starts to double, triple the people that are training with them, those guys are going to start going up through, and we're going to start to see more admin
Yes.
being in the training side.
Yeah.
I can speak to the Grand Rapids because Dave, who was a lieutenant of training and now he's a captain of training in Grand Rapids, I've
Right.
seen it come tenfold from when we went in there for a 2-day course and kind of consult with what they were doing, their
Right.
program, to now, dude, they are crushing it. You know what they're doing continuously?
Hmm.
They're training
Right.
continuously.
Yeah.
Right. They've added a mat room.
Yeah.
They have 28 EFC level 1 and level 2 instructors. So they know
That's
how to do the
fantastic. Yeah.
fundamentals. They know
Hmm.
how to put them under stress and do it
Right.
in a structured manner. Okay. And they're training continuously. They're allowing their officers to train continuously.
Yeah.
They're crushing it on the use of force side.
That's
Right.
fantastic.
We know what
Yeah.
the answers are.
Yeah.
It's getting the people in the places to make those changes and then having the resources in that department to make those changes. Do we have the high level guys or the guys that understand and have the ability to then transfer this knowledge over?
Right.
If not, then we have to rely on outside gyms, jiu-jitsu guys, range
Sure.
people, if they're not in-house. Which, hey, relying on the community is good.
Yeah.
Eventually, hopefully, we'll have it all in-house. But
Right.
relying on that community is fine.
Yeah.
As long as they understand the integration, right? I look at
Right.
jujitsu, sport jujitsu, sport MMA, sport wrestling as competition shooting.
Yeah.
They're all excellent. They're all excellent for a cop, right? You're going to build your skills overwhelmingly faster doing those things than you are if you just do it in your in-service training.
Right.
Now you have to have in-house a program that integrates that into what rule set we're playing in.
Right. Yeah, and that's the difference, right? And you need to change that rule set. And so that kind of brings me to EFC because you have level 1. So let's talk a little bit about level 2 in that type of training and what the kind of difference is between 1 and 2.
Yeah, so I didn't want like a beginner and advanced combative system because our level 1 is the principles and concepts and skills and tactics that you do every day over and over again.
Right.
Just get so uncommonly good at those that you're better than everybody else.
Right.
Right. So then we know from feedback, from perf studies, just experience that people crumble under stress.
Yeah.
We just know that. The military spends tons of money over decades figuring this out for us. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we utilizing the results?
Right.
Right. Put people under stress.
Yeah. Put them in the real life scenarios.
0 to 10 seconds so that then they got to process and act faster. You can't act until you process. Okay. Yeah. So put them in as much stress or fear as possible and then do it quickly so that they have to teach themselves how to process. The brain's a very complicated yet easy organ of our body. There's frontal lobes, different things. Stress and fear is detected in 2 different areas and it takes longer from one. I'm not the doctor. I don't do the studies. I just read them. I understand how it works and what we need to do. The long and short of it is put your students under pressure quicker in the academies and put them in more stress pressure drills right away. And those could be at distance, which is commonly done. Okay. But distance gives us time, which allows us to have better critical decisions under stress, more time to figure that out. So I like to do it. Our level 2 is 0 to 7 feet ish. Okay. And they don't know what the scenario is. We call them box drills. We stole that term from the military. They do hooded box drills. And sure, we can do longer scenarios, but in a 32-hour course, we do just the hooded box drills.
Right.
And that is because they have to immediately process and react.
Right.
And we put them under stress right away.
Yeah.
And the role players know they're built out. If the officer does this, you're going to act this way. If he does this, you're going to act this way.
Right.
So it's a structured force on force. More force on force is good. Okay. But when it's unstructured, a lot of time we get gym class hero versus gym class hero, and then we don't get the objectives and hit the objectives we're looking to do.
Right, right. You still have a goal of what you want to accomplish, right? Exactly right.
Yes. And then there's a strict way that we coach it to get the best out of it. Now, if I have a guy that I know is like an LCD in the beginning of training, I'm not going to give him the most complex box drill off. I know he's going to fail.
Right.
I'm going to give him a box drill that's going to make him work, but I'm going to give him one that is solvable for him to do, and then start building him up through the complexity of his drills.
Yeah.
But the more we put kids under stress, especially in the academy, they should be under stress like weekly or sparring some sort of resistance weekly.
Yes.
I'm going to do a podcast with my buddy Rick Rogers next time I'm together with him. We're going to get on and do like a mock podcast.
Yeah.
And he just got put in. He's a level 1 guy. He's a SWAT guy. He's a level 2 guy, actually. He's a very good shooter. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a black belt and SWAT guy. So he's got all the skills and knowledge.
Right.
He just recently got put in charge of the combatives part of the academy, but he's now integrating it into the PT portion.
Yeah.
He's helping add it into the shooting, and they're sparring weekly. Nice light touch strikes. They're sparring, moving around. They're grappling weekly. Right. They're doing weapon-based entanglement stuff weekly, relay-based training stuff. And this first group that he had graduate, the instructors that were over there before him, some of them were his instructors, were like, this is the best we've ever seen the students do in their final drills. Yeah. Well, you know why? Because they're doing it every day throughout the academy versus 40 hours.
Right. And then when you do it every day, when that stress hits and it's time to go, you're ready for it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing a phenomenal job. So I'm going to get on with him and talk about that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And, that is the model. PT. Hey, is there a benefit to running long distance, running a mile, mile and a half, 5 miles? Of course there is. Yeah. But should we do that 5 days a week and that be our primary fitness? No. We should be doing that as well. Yes. But we should also be doing sprinting and agility on a couple days. Yes. We should be doing combative conditioning on a couple days. Right. Because those are more job-related tasks.
Yes.
That's when we do our level 2, the catastrophic failures very, very rarely are from some sort of control tactics issue.
Right. Yeah.
Our catastrophic failures in relay-based training are all range issues.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not.
The flat range is killing us. Being too safe on the range is killing us.
Right. Because we have zero. We're not taught any movement. We're just draw, shoot, draw, shoot.
The average academy gets 80 hours on a gun, 80 hours of gun training. Okay. Range training. You're on a flat range the overwhelming majority of that time and under very little stress because you're working the fundamentals.
Yeah. The first time I ever moved at shooting, was I had to take a course myself from a retired SWAT guy that showed me how to do stuff. And that was the first time I had ever done it. Yeah.
But now week 1 of FTO, you guys get in a shootout. And now it's with 0 to 6 feet and it's in a 360 environment. Yeah. Probably low light conditions around cars.
Your feet are going to be planted and you're not going to move. Right.
Exactly.
That's what you're used to. Yeah.
So we create bad conditions by these things. We have to be better. We have to understand that we're in silos in law enforcement for too long. Take the silos down. Let's start working together. Let's start working with our range instructors. Let's start working with our CQB instructors. Heck, you know what? Make all your instructors certify in all the other lanes, and then they can all work together.
Right. And it's all one thing together. Exactly.
Yeah, that's primarily what we did at my old department. And once we did that, oh my gosh, our LCDs became competent level officer. The competent level officer became really, really good practitioners in the rules of law enforcement.
Yeah. And
So
it all should be together. You shouldn't, right. You shouldn't just
yeah,
be,
so that's why I did level 2 that
yeah,
way because
right.
I personally saw the benefit of what it did for the department. Personally, see the benefit of when we teach it across the state and then across the country, and integrating stress related drills with resistance
Right.
way quicker than we have been in the past.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And then, if talking to like a regular police officer out there, throughout the country, how can this officer, stay prepared even if their agency doesn't support training? What are your kind of main recommendations, and what does EFC kind of have to offer to that officer?
Yeah, first and foremost, find a gym, build a gym in your house, and get fit. Okay, body weight. I don't care if it's lifting weights heavy, whatever it is, but be fit. I don't care if you're walking every day or versus jogging or sprinting. Get some sort of fitness level into your weekly, daily regimen. Okay.
Yeah.
After that, then get some sort of control tactics training. Whether you join a jujitsu gym, whether you go to an MMA gym, whether you find a couple buddies and just start training combative fundamentals.
Right.
There's tons of resources out there. Specifically, I'll just talk about our companies because we're here. We have a fitness side. They build fitness for police. I think the app's like $28 a month or something like that. If you want to work
Wow.
out at your own house and have someone dial up a workout program for you on a weekly basis, follow effective fitness combat or effective fitness training. If you can't come to courses and your agency is not giving it, you got to seek it out. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars of my own money training jujitsu and going to courses for law enforcement specific
Me too.
stuff. Thousands and thousands of
So am
dollars,
I.
right?
So am I.
Invest in yourself.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, we're in a technology world today.
Yeah.
Virtual content. The EFC level 1 curriculum in whole is online. You
Yeah.
get the video library. You can train it every day, every week, however much you want. You could get just the vehicle distraction. You get just one officer control. If you work in a team setting, get the team setting stuff. It's all virtually out there for you guys.
Right.
Right. And if you guys don't like EFC, there's plenty of other companies that put virtual content out too. Just make sure you're like understanding that it has an integration into what we're doing.
Right.
Okay.
That it's got the law enforcement base to it. Yeah.
It's got the law enforcement base out there. Now,
Yeah.
get into competition shooting. Go to a jujitsu gym. You don't gotta be training to compete. Just go do jujitsu.
Yeah.
Right? Those are your fastest ways to build skills. Go find the competition gun scene. Get in there. Start training shooting. If you're a good shooter, it's going to be way easier to transition skills into integrating.
Yeah.
Right? I take a jujitsu black belt and he doesn't know how to do weapon-based entanglements. He gets his gun taken or gets stabbed a couple of times. And then I show him a few concepts of it and he's like, he's already got the skills to do it.
Right.
I just had to give him what he's got to look for now because he didn't know that. Right. It's way easier to teach if the skill level's higher.
Yes. Right.
So there's a lot of ways to do that. I think law enforcement going forward has just got to be more continuous training. But that continuous training has got to be good. It can't be building bad fundamentals.
True.
Like, let's say weapon retention, for instance. We teach pummel as a skill. Why? Because I learned how to underhook. Mm-hmm. I learned how to overhook. It's a skill you can do. But we do all weapon grabs from there.
From the pummel,
because if I stand in front of you, JT, and say, okay, gun grab, and I watch you grab my gun over 2 weeks of training 100 times, I built a bad condition of letting you grab my gun.
Yeah, it's a training scar right there. Right.
That should be a deflection. I should be deflecting that and moving on or engaging you. Okay. Right. So we started off from the pummel, and all the gun grabs come from the pummel because now I feel it.
Right.
Most of the time, you don't see the gun grab come. Most of the time, you feel the gun grab come.
Yeah, because you're grappling with somebody, and then boom. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Same with knives, right? Like, do I face the knife and start? No, because we already know, looking at most statistics and body-worn cameras, you don't see the knife till it's coming. Okay. Yeah. It's within 3 feet, and the suspect's leading with their empty hand. Yeah. So I need you to process faster. It comes down to processing again, right? So I can do that low-level drilling and even speed it up. So I'll start, okay, we know we're doing knife defense, so we're already gaming the drill. But if I face away from you and as I turn, you might have it in your right hand this time. Next time you might have it in your left hand. You might come over the top, underneath, whatever. I have to process where it's at even during my drilling. Mm-hmm. So how can we find ways to do drills that speeds up the officer's ability to process even when there is no resistance or pressure testing?
Right. Yeah. And you got to have them problem solving right then. Boom.
Right then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So that's kind of what we do. It's kind of what we're offering. That's kind of probably why we're being successful besides having a really good team.
Yeah.
Uh, both the ones that you see on camera and the faces of it, along with all the guys that are adjunct instructors that you don't see as much on there, and all our back end employees that put in the work that nobody sees.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Right.
It's a team effort. Like it's a big team. Like it's not
Yeah.
easy. It's not cheap running a big business, or we're
Yeah.
a small business, but it's not cheap running a small business that's got the output that we're putting in.
Yeah. You guys are
Um,
doing big, big stuff. It's fantastic.
so I just appreciate everybody that's pushing out everything, and that team then scales out,
Yeah.
right, to the JTs,
Hmm.
to the, let's say, gyms at Chicago Training Center, to
Yeah.
the Dallas PD guys that are pushing it out, to the
Come
Colorado guys.
train with me in the Midwest, people. Come on, I'm in Chicago. Get over
Right. So,
it.
we have a ton of EFC certified gyms too. So
Yeah.
they understand the difference between just sport and that. So they can answer your questions. They offer classes.
Yeah.
JT's gym in Chicago, EFC certified, they have specific just EFC combative programs. So if you're a cop and you don't really want to do jujitsu per se, then you can just go to the EFC. You can sign up and go just to the EFC courses.
Right. Yeah. And just taking that one class a week can make a big difference. And I tell people all the time, just make a start. Just start with that. If you don't
Yeah.
like jujitsu, that's fine. Just take one class a week. It'll really change the way you.
It's like if you're not fit, just start walking a mile a
Right.
day. Just
Just
start
take
doing 5 push-ups. If you can't do 5, then
right.
do it till failure. Get 2 in. Okay,
Right.
awesome. You got 2. Now by the end of the week, you might get 3.
Right.
Right? We
And
understand we got to teach to the competent level person, but we also have to have standards, and we got to push people to be above
yeah.
the lowest common denominator, which is, unfortunately, for police too long, we've coddled
Yes.
the lowest common denominator, and
Yeah.
I refuse to do that.
Yeah. They need to step up and, or just get moved to the side because that's what's happening.
We have people come, like I run the DCGS post instructor course at Stillford, New York State.
Mhm.
That's an 80-hour a week course. I think 3 times out of the 50, 60 DCGS courses I've ran since 2015,
Mhm.
everybody's passed
Yeah.
or everybody's completed the course,
Yeah.
because it is a pass fail. It's not like, hey, I show up, I go, I get the cert.
Right.
EFC, there's been a handful of people where they end up only going away with a certificate of completion.
Right.
Why? Because watching them do their teach backs and watching them do their demos and drilling, they're just not competent enough to be able to leave with the instructor certification.
Yeah.
So we have teach back critiques.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't happen very often because most of the people that come to us on the private sector are pretty competent, or
Right.
we can get them to the position we need them to be competent,
Right.
leaving with all the material to continue
Yeah.
to get better.
But yeah, you shouldn't lower your standards to that. They should raise up to yours, and that's how it should be. And you have
Correct.
that standard baseline should be, above competent and better than competent. And I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's going to bring everybody up. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. The good thing is there's a lot of good training out there. Seek out training, invest in
Yeah.
yourself. That's the biggest thing I can tell you, and do it continuously.
Yeah. And make a start. Like, we're both black belts here talking. I've been training, 14 years, but I started at 35 years old. I walked in the door, not knowing jujitsu, kind of out of shape. And, I started just like everybody else with the white belt on at the end of the line and worked my way up. Everybody starts there. Everybody has a first day. So
Yeah, don't go in there trying to kill the first person you roll with. Your
Yeah,
body's
exactly.
not conditioned to do that. You're going to get hurt because you're frenzying and you're pushing your body to a limit where they've never been pushed before. Like,
Right.
go out there and just slowly, like, go to 2, 3 classes a week, go to 2
Yeah.
classes a week, go to 1 class a week. Watch your body conditioned to being able to physically push pull and resist the push pull.
Yeah.
That's just, and it's going to build your mindset stronger. And it's going to make you probably a better thinker. And here's the thing with, like, jujitsu that I think is not talked about enough from a community relations aspect is, when you go to a jujitsu gym, there's all walks of life in that class.
Mm-hmm.
There's poor people, there's middle class people, and there's probably multimillionaires in that class.
Yeah. It's a mix. Yeah.
Right? There's left, there's right,
Mm-hmm.
there's independent people in that class.
Yeah.
There's all races in that class. But you know what? No one talks about any of that stuff. Everyone's in there doing the same thing, drilling.
Right.
You actually, like, start to understand different cultures
Sure.
and you mingle with people.
Yeah.
Cops for a long time kind of separate themselves, and if they live just a job, they don't have a friend like friend group outside of law enforcement. It's very
Yeah.
hard for them to talk and deal with people from other cultures than that cop group, right?
Yeah, because
So
that
like
bubble is pretty small. Yeah.
the
Right.
bubble is
Hmm.
small. I feel like the jujitsu gym also allows people to definitely like be more comfortable around other cultures,
Yeah.
other walks of life. And that's important for what we do because we deal with all of those. And society expects us to be psychologists,
Right.
doctors,
Right. Yeah.
protectors.
Yeah. Social
They expect us to
workers,
be all of
everything.
those
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that's my
yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, no, I agree. The jujitsu mats are a great place to start and to do it. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the direction EFC is moving in 2026. I was looking at your stuff and everything looks booked up for 2026 and kind of what's the big stuff going on for next year with
Yeah,
EFC.
so we'll run 64 courses at the end of this year for 2025.
Yeah.
And so our goal for next year was to book 72 with 4 full-time instructors, possibly bringing on a fifth and our 30 adjunct instructors. We can do 72 without watering down the program.
Yeah, that's great.
So we have 72 host locations booked. So all registration and enrollment is online and live now. You can go on and sign up for those courses for next year. And I already started booking 2027 courses.
That's great.
And again, we'll probably be shooting for that 72 mark. That allows me to leave like 5 or 6 private course dates where we can handle, hey, a private pops up. Probably Chicago level 2 will be a private course in the spring, I'm assuming, but that's going to pop up like 30 days before it happens.
Yeah.
So I have to save,
Just let me know so I can sign up.
yeah, I'll just have to save a couple of those dates for that.
Yeah,
And, level 2, we're offering triple the level 2 courses we offered in 2025.
that's awesome. Yeah.
So that's going to continue to grow. Scott, myself, and some of the other guys that are adjuncts. For you guys that don't know, we have adjuncts that are full-time SWAT team leaders,
Mhm.
full-time operators, and
Scott
so
Sinclair and yeah.
Scott's full-time with me now. But
Mhm.
guys that are adjuncts that are still currently running teams or on teams, we built out a combative SWAT program. So it's what we felt is missing most in most SWAT schools. Cool CQB shooting and also super important, but there's a lot of guys running that lane already.
Yeah.
We'll stay out of that for you guys, and we're going to come in and do some combative stuff.
Oh, that's
Realistically,
great.
there's only one good company running that area right now, maybe
Hmm.
two. So we feel like we can fill that void in two, especially with all the knowledge that we have from one Scott and I, and then all our adjuncts and teammates that are on team still currently doing it. So,
So would that be
um,
like SWAT operators
yeah,
doing CQB, but it turns into a combatives environment?
yeah.
Okay,
And then it could also be for like your task force units and stuff that are doing like,
sure.
uh, you know, details and clearing and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And
Right.
it's going to be minimum 2 people per team because we're
Okay.
not going to tell you how to clear a room. I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend 3 hours, 4 hours every day debating tactics. You
Right.
guys clear your room. As long as I see you hitting your points of domination, cool. You clear how you want. We
Okay.
want to work on the stuff we want to work on, which is the stuff we feel like it's left out in most SWAT courses.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, that looks good. And then kind of the last question, what would be the single biggest, kind of mindset shift you hope, listeners would take away or, police officer listening to this now?
Um, Pushing society and administration to realize that continuous training is the true police reform.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. That's a very good way to put it, and that's where it's going to start, and kind of it starts and ends with that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah, continued training is the answer. Absolutely. So
Society thinks we're trained robots. The
yeah,
average cop is not a trained robot. They are very far from it. They think they're a tier
right.
one operator. That is not
Yeah, and a lot of they have that misconception that we have a lot more training than we do, and yeah, we
I
need
mean,
more.
even your most highly trained cops, right? Tier one guys are the tip of the spear guys,
Right.
right? So even your highest trained cops aren't going to be tier one guys. So then
Hmm.
your average competent cop is extremely below that.
Oh yeah,
Extremely
yeah,
below that. Your highest level cops are below that, right? So like
right.
understanding that like we just have to up with the standard of the lowest common denominator is to the competent level and then continue to build off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where to find you and find all your curriculum, EFC Combatives, and your site and any other sites you want to kind of recommend.
Yeah. So for us, efcombatives.com. You can find us on Instagram, EF Combatives, YouTube, EF Combatives. My personal page is Wads BJJ. Those are the main forms.
Yeah, and much appreciated. Thank you for taking the time and talking to me today. Always appreciate your stuff and what you're doing out there. You're doing great stuff, and thanks for taking the time and coming on the Man of the Law show today. Best of luck in 2026, too, sir.